Penny Reidy joins me. Penny, good morning to you.
Good morning. How are you today?
Good. Enjoying this slightly cooler weather?
It is. I was just talking to someone. They said, how is it outside? I said, it's actually quite nice. It's pleasant after the extreme heat that we've had. So,
and the last few days of humidity is even worse than the heat, I think. It's been unpleasant. But today it's pretty good. So what does that mean for fruit, produce and so forth?
Look, the lack of rain definitely doesn't help our growers. No. It means that they rely on bore waters and, water that they need to extract, and there's quite a bit of running out of water going on. So that can definitely be challenging. But it's always peaks and troughs. There'll be some growers that are loving the warm weather, and there'll be others that are like, please bring us some cooler weather and some rain. So the strawberry growers, for example, if it rains, that actually ruins the strawberry crops. So the longer it stays dry, it's actually good for them. It just means that they need to pay for the water that's going on there. So, there's always someone that's loving it and someone who's wishing for the rain, that's for sure.
I was talking to my wife Eve last night about how, and you mentioned strawberries, how the quality and taste of strawberries changes, and that really is a seasonal issue, isn't it? It's
definitely seasonal. It's definitely weather dependent as well. I know when we were going through those extreme weeks of heat, the strawberry growers were just saying it was just frying the strawberries. So, the quality wasn't great during that period, but they did expect that the quality still to get better and that potentially our season will run out and through into April, which is good because then we'll have locally grown right up until there. But yes, it definitely affects the quality, affects the size of the fruit as well, and also, of course, the price of it as well.
One thing I notice these days when you go to fruit and veg is you look at the apples, and once upon a time, you'd have your Granny Smiths and 2 or 3 other varieties. The number of varieties of apples available these days is immense.
It is. It's interesting. I was watching a social media post from one of our local fruit and veg stores, Fruitabella at Ingle Farm, and they just completely relayed their whole front section with apples and all the different varieties that they have. It is apple and pear season at the moment. We're picking varieties at the moment, and every week there's something new that's filling those shelves, and there's so many different brands available now. They call them club brands, the ones that you have to have a license to grow.
All right.
So there's a few of them like Cansy apples, rocket apples, sassy apples, dazzle apples, there's all these different varieties that kind of have a license to be able to grow them and to brand them, and Bravo apples to sell them under that brand. But you will see over the next few months all of those brands starting to come in, and they all have different unique flavour profiles, and they're always interesting. Big apples, small apples, red apples, green apples, the red flesh ones, the red love. People loved them last year. They looked great. Personally, I didn't love them. They're quite a tart, if you like, a green apple. But yeah, all these different varieties coming. I've actually been to the Apple Museum in Tasmania. I don't know if you've ever been there, but if you ever visit Tasmania, go to the Apple Museum. There's hundreds and hundreds of varieties that they have on display there, and we're very spoilt for choice. Do you have a favourite?
I don't mind a jazz apple, I must say.
Yeah, like the jazz.
Yeah, like the jazz. Pink Lady. Not bad.
Yeah, so Royal Galas have started. They're always favourite with people.
I do like Royal Galas.
I'm a big fan of the missile apple. Have you tried the missile apple? So we work with Lenswood, who are the grower packer here in South Australia. We always hand them out at the Royal Adelaide show as part of the Yellow Brick Road. So if anyone's been there and picked up an apple on the Yellow Brick Road over the last few years, you would have got a missile apple. And when we first started doing them, people would look at them and go, oh, that's a tiny apple. Why have we got the tiny apples? But they're actually grown to that size. So it's not that they've picked them early, but they're consistently sweet and crunchy. And once you try a missile apple, you won't go back, because they also have a very small core to them as well. So you can eat the whole lot. My teenage son loves doing a party trick with him where he puts the whole apple in his mouth. I don't recommend that for everyone.
Don't do this at home.
But they're really good. Quite often people will put apples into lunch boxes and half of it comes home and it's waste and stuff like that. Whereas the missile apple, really good for like kids' lunch boxes, because they will eat the whole lot, so you don't have that waste. And whilst you pay a little bit more per kilo for them, if you're not wasting them, then, you can kind of balance that out.
I was going to say, with school lunch boxes, and some apples are pretty huge.
Yes.
And, for little kids in primary school, it's a big eat. But
Exactly.
one of those little
Our
bite-sized
little one,
apples
yeah.
is great.
So, and even with the big one, I guess if you're sharing with a couple of people, that's okay. But quite often when you cut up the apple, you kind of have that issue of it going brown. The Cairnsy apples that are coming out shortly, I think they've just hit the shelf this week as well. They're really good if you're ever cutting up apples and putting them into your lunch boxes, because they will stay white a lot longer. They're also good for cheese platters. So, there's different varieties that have different roles. Like I said, the ones that stay whiter longer, you're going to put them on your cheese platter if you know it's going to be out for a little bit longer than when you first cut it up, or if you're going to cut it up and put it into your lunchbox. Missile apple, great if you just want a small snack, and for older people that don't want a massive apple as well, or you just want a little snack. And did you know that apples are a great replacement for a 3 o'clock coffee? Have you heard that one before?
No, I haven't. I've got to be honest with you.
So the research shows that if you need a bit of a perk in an afternoon, and if you're like me, I don't like to drink coffee kind of after midday, but an apple will give you that same kind of boost that the caffeine does as well.
And much better for you.
Much better for you, an apple a day and all of that good stuff.
All right. What about other good fruit would you recommend at the moment?
Pears as well. There's lots of different varieties of pears. And a lot of people, before I started working in the industry, I thought there were green pears and that's about it. Everyone kind of knows the Packham pear, the green pear, but there's lots of different varieties that we grow here in South Australia. The Red Sensation is a really good one that's out at the moment if you want to try something different, unique for their vibrant red skin. Deepens in colour the more that they ripen as well. People are funny with pears. You're either a very pro, I like them all ripe and juicy, or I like my pear crunchy. Do you have a preference there?
Not crunchy. I'm not a big crunchy fan.
Not a big crunchy, yeah.
A little juicy and succulent.
Yes. Well, and have you tried the Nashi pears?
Yes, I have.
Yes. Yeah. And I was talking to a grower the other day and he told me off because I said, people have their preferences. They either like to eat them crunchy or when they ripen. And he said, not with the Nashi pear. He says they actually lose their flavour as they get soft and neat.
Okay.
And the good thing about the Nashi pear is that it is quite a crunchy, almost apple-like consistency, but full of juice. So you don't have to wait for it to ripen to be all that juicy as well. So, Nashi pears are available at the moment as well.
Is there a particular way of, with avocados and things, you can check to see if they're ripe. Do you need to check with pears, like a Nashi pear?
Yeah, well, like the grower said, you don't want it to be soft and over ripened. So when you are picking it, just check around near the stem of it and make sure that it's not too squishy there. Yeah, I guess we don't want to tell people to go in and squish all the apples and
No. So what else is looking good at the moment?
We've also got pomegranates, locally grown pomegranates. Look, people get afraid of fruit that's not cut up or you can't just bite into, but the health benefits of pomegranates are amazing. They're a superfood. So if you can, if you can push through having to cut it open and deal with that, definitely beneficial at the end of it. Mm-hmm. Really high in antioxidants, vitamin C, fibre, an absolute powerhouse for health and wellness. So, like I said, a little bit of effort to peel, but the reward is delicious and they're locally grown at the moment, which is good to know. Honeydew melon is also in really good supply at the moment. We've kind of it's starting to move out of those summer fruits and the melons and stuff as we're moving into the new season. But the pale green flesh, great for hydration. Honeydew melon is still being grown in South Australia. And then I wanted to introduce you to a fruit that you may not have heard of, and many of the listeners may not have, because it's a fairly new variety and we don't grow it in South Australia, but I always love when I see it come into season, and it's called a kiwi berry. Have you come across these before?
Never. I love berries, but I've never heard of a kiwi berry.
Yeah, so it's essentially a tiny kiwi fruit, and they're sold in punnets, so you'll find it in kind of where the berries are, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, kiwi berries are going to be in there at the moment as well. So they're essentially just a little kiwi fruit with a massive burst of flavour, very, very sweet. They don't have a furry skin. You don't have to peel them or anything. That's why they come into the punnet ready to eat. And it's interesting that punnet foods are increasing in popularity. If we put something in a punnet, snack ready to go, people are eating more and more of them. Consumers are loving that. As overall, we're eating less fruit and vegetables, but the punnet foods are actually increasing in consumer demand. So if you're a punnet fan and you like to kind of pick them up for your lunchbox box or to have in the car with you while you're travelling along. Check out the kiwi berries. I promise you will not be disappointed.
Okay, let's move on to veggies. What's about?
Well, it's autumn, so leeks are around. It's kind of quintessential with the season, really. So a really mild flavoured vegetable, commonly used in soups, stews, salads. Mushroom risotto with leek in it, leek and chicken pies, leek soups. Locally grown at the moment. Kind of add a bit of subtle onion taste for you. Flat beans are in really good supply at the moment. They're quite a crunchy texture.
Not a fan. I've got to be honest.
Not
Penny.
a fan.
I like sort of beans, but flat beans have never done it for me.
You don't chuck them in your curries or your stir fries. No. Well, the good thing about them is that they hold up well in stir fries, and you can just add that little bit of vegetable into there, and you only need a few of them, Graeme.
Okay, I'll take your recommendation.
There's lots of good capsicums around at the moment. The yellow capsicums are quite good at the moment. They typically are softer and sweeter than the green capsicums, but slightly firmer than the red capsicums. So do you realise that capsicums, they all start out the same colour, and it just depends on when you pick it on the colour that they are?
Right, yeah, so green is picked earlier than red and so forth? Yeah, okay.
So they're green, then they turn yellow, orange, and then finally red. So, yeah, but I find that the yellow ones are good if you're making any dishes that you're kind of stuffing. So if you're stuffing them with rice or mince or something like that and baking them, you'll find the yellow ones are quite good. We've got radishes around at the moment, low in calories, packed with nutrients, full of vitamin C, in case you didn't know. So if you need, if you're not eating much citrus at the moment, you want to add a bit of vitamin C into your diet. A radish is a really good way, helps with digestion. You can just kind of chuck it in your salads for a bit of crunch and stuff like that.
I used to love growing radishes as a kid because they grow so fast.
Yes, it's quite easy.
When my father had a garden and all things were too slow, he'd throw in some radish seeds and boom, they'd shoot up in a few weeks.
There you go. Just an easy way to kind of, like I said before, as consumers, we're consuming less fruit and vegetables.
Yeah.
So just finding a way. I read a stat the other day about if you put half an onion into your diet every day, that adds as a count for your vegetables as well. We should be doing the 5 and 2. And if you're having trouble getting to that 5, just by adding like maybe a bit of red onion into your salad or red onion into your sandwich, just that half an onion will add a point of your vegetables as well. So,
I love onions, so I'm in.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me twice. Sweet corn are really good at the moment. Coming from the Riverland, abundant supply, tasting good, really easy for you just have to boil or steam them, chuck them in the microwave, bit of butter. Are you a fan of butter on your sweet corn, or do you have something else?
No, butter.
Butter. Bit of paprika.
Only butter, a bit of salt and pepper. No, salt and pepper, butter. On my way.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
So, plenty of supply of them at the moment. So there's lots filling the shelves at the moment that's South Australian grown. So there's plenty of ways for us to support the economy, support South Australian grown, and fill up our baskets with locally grown produce.
Penny, it's great to see you. Thanks for dropping in today.
Thanks for having me.
Bringing us up to date. That's Penny Reidy. Look out for red Pick a Local, Pick SA sign in your local fruit and veg store. Know you're supporting a South Australian business, supporting SA growers.